Would you please welcome Mr. John Warner?
Hi, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for attending and supporting our Flag Day dinner this year. This is our county party's most important fundraiser of the year, and we use the proceeds from tonight to fund our office staff and our office operations, as well as an occasional hit piece. I just want to say a few thank yous, if I could. First, I want to thank our Flag Day committee, Honorable Michelle Steele, Alexandria Coronado, Michael Gates, Willard Bill Dunlap, and a very, very special thanks to our young and talented Executive Director, Scott Lowenhorst, and his staff for the unbelievable amount of hours that they have put into this event. I also want to thank our platinum sponsors. Should be on our sponsors up. Anyway, they're in your program. The Lincoln Club, our great partners at the Lincoln Club, the California Apartment Association, our gold sponsors, Fred and Whitaker, and yours truly, silver sponsors, Assemblywoman Diane Harkey. Thank you, Diane. Phil Chen and TJ Fuentes. The indomitable Mary Young. Thank you, Mary. Supervisor Pat Bates, Jim Glidewell and Glidewell Laboratories. Thank you, Jimmy. Strathspey Crown, Doy Henley, Allergan, and finally our OC congressional delegation, Congressman Ed Royce, Congressman Darrell Issa, and Congressman Dana Rohrabacher. Dana's down here somewhere. Dana, thank you. And also thank you to all the bronze sponsors and everybody that came tonight. Finally, or semi-finally, we are carrying on our county outreach initiative we began last year. If you were here at the dinner, you learned a little bit about it. With the amazing support and partnership of the Lincoln Club. Together we've spent many, many hours and dollars projecting our message into our Latino and Asian communities and to young people all over Orange County. And as part of this effort last year, if you were here and you recall, we raised the funds to sponsor 70 young people to join us at the dinner last year to hear Senator Cruz's message. Well, this year we've expanded that effort and we raised a lot more money, and tonight, thanks to our youth table sponsors who are listed in the program and hopefully on the, anyway, they're in their program, we thank them. Tonight we have approximately 140 young people here, and would you all stand, all of you, please. They're all across the room, all across the back. Also, want to thank Paula Prizio and Maribel American for putting these groups together and shepherding these kids and leading them throughout the year. Let's have a round of applause for those two. They've done a great job, seriously. Okay, now, it's my pleasure to introduce our first guest, Hugh Hewitt. Hugh is going to introduce the next governor of Arizona, Doug Ducey. Hugh needs little introduction in Orange County. Hugh's nationally syndicated radio program is Red Meat for Thinking Conservatives. In his spare time, he teaches law at Chapman University. He also has his own law firm and has written books. But his favorite pastime is browbeating Trojans, which he shamelessly does day after day after day. I didn't go to USC, so it's fine with me. Hugh is here tonight. If you listen to Hugh's show, you will often hear him refer to his wife as the fetching Mrs. Hewitt. Well, the fetching Mrs. Hewitt, mystery woman, Betsy Hewitt, is here tonight. Betsy, would you stand so everybody can see that you really are a very fetching woman? Where is Betsy? There she is. There she is in the back. Wave your hand, Betsy. Betsy told me that this was date night. Nice, huh? What are we going to do on date night, honey? Oh. Okay, also, the two of them, they are doting two-time grandparents. They have recently had a grandson, right? Last few months. So anyway, without any further warm-up, would you all please give a warm welcome to our great friend, Grandpa Hugh Hewitt.
John Warner is an old and dear friend, and when he asked me to come and do this, I said I would do it in the honor of the memory of our co-buddy, Coach Jerry Tardy, with whom we spent many a lunch at Ruby deciding that the world was going to hell in a handbasket. But I know that Coach Jerry and John would encourage me to do one thing before I began, which is to ask those men and women who've served in the uniform of the United States to stand up and let us thank you for your service, wherever you are. Now, I travel over the country. I do fundraisers all over the country for a variety of people and events. And I always tell them I'm from the best Orange County, from the best Republican Party organization in the United States. And that is true because it has been run by two extraordinary individuals, the late, great, wonderful Tom Fuentes and the very much with us and still wonderful Scott Baugh. And Tom and Scott believe so much in party organization, and Tom passed it on to Scott, and Scott has nurtured it, that it's grown year after. And people don't believe Flag Day dinners exist like this. And so when I was offered the opportunity to introduce our two guest speakers tonight, I said I would do it because I know both men, and I know both men to be in the spirit of Orange County Republicanism. And by that I mean a few things. Number one, they're going to slow down for you USC people, really slow. I originally saw their prepared text and I said, guys, that won't work. We need pictures for the screen. And so it's okay. But they have two things in common. I'll tell you a little bit about Mike later. First, I'm going to start to tell you a little bit about Doug. And I will captain it by doing this. I've been in politics a long time, did my first campaign in 1974. Betsy and I have been married for 31 years. In all that period of time, I've done probably 1,000 fundraisers and 1,000 events. I have never, ever opened my home and welcomed a candidate into it until we did so for Doug Ducey, who's going to be the next governor of Arizona. I want to tell you why. It is not because he is from Ohio, although that matters a great deal. All right, he's from Toledo, Ohio originally. And it's not because Doug Ducey has a godson, Tommy Schott, number 90, who's starting for the Ohio State Buckeyes this year. I'm not bringing that up either. And it's not because he took Cold Stone Creamery and turned it into an engine of jobs for 4,000 franchisees and changed the face of ice cream in the world and did everything that he could to teach the lessons of small business that he learned from Procter & Gamble to people all across the country. Here's why. Because he was selfless in Arizona politics, which I follow very, very closely, selfless for many, many years. And rather than say, I've done all this, I've done all that, I've got this wonderful resume, they needed someone to be the treasurer to fix the finances of Arizona. And instead of saying, no, that's not a job I do, I ought to just run for governor, he said, I will take it on, I will fix the finances of Arizona. And he did so when he had 3 young boys in the home, and his wife and I think it's his middle son, are as we speak in Peru on a mission trip for their Jesuit high school. And so he is a wonderful dad, a wonderful man of faith, a very successful businessman. And when he becomes the governor of Arizona, our neighbor is going to do things that will impact this state, hopefully example for this state, drive home an energy and an enthusiasm and a way of doing business that he infused into every single franchise. And I think you will agree with me that if every single Republican would adopt the optimism, the vision and the principles of Doug Ducey, our party would be well on the way to returning. This is why Scott Walker went and put his arm around him as his first endorsee for 2014 and said, here's a reform governor, here's a guy who can change Arizona in ways that need to be changed. Please welcome the next governor of Arizona, its current state treasurer, Doug Ducey. Doug?
Wow, thank you, Hugh. You're known by the company you keep, and I just want to say how grateful I am for Hugh Hewitt's friendship, and I actually got to sit next to the fetching Mrs. Hewitt tonight and enjoy dinner. This is great to be here in Orange County, California. I want to say thanks so much to Chairman Baugh and to John Warner for having me here. I think we have a bit of a symbiotic relationship between Arizona and California. Many of us Arizonans come to California in the summer to escape the heat. And many of you Californians move to Arizona to escape the taxes. But I know this pendulum swings, and I'm hopeful for what's going to happen here in California. I got a chance to meet Neil Kashkari tonight, and I wanted to say Neil, unless I'm mistaken, was actually born in Akron, Ohio. And myself being from Toledo, I think it'd be pretty cool to have two Buckeyes on the Western Governors Council together serving. You know, what's really unbelievable to me to be here tonight is that I'm here in Orange County. I'm running for governor in Arizona. I've been endorsed by Scott Walker. I've been introduced by Hugh Hewitt. And I'm not from a political family. I'm not from any political background. I grew up in Toledo, Ohio. My dad was a cop. I'm a product of the Midwest and the working class. But for full disclosure, because the silly season of politics is about to start, I want you to know here in this room that my first elective office was as homeroom representative in the 5th grade at Blessed Sacrament Grade School. And that was a brutal primary, and I think a lot of those kids are still mad at me. But my folks split up my junior year. My mom moved west, and I literally had a high school counselor that said, he pointed at a map and said, school's affordable out there, and there's a lot of opportunity. So I got in my Datsun B210, and I drove from Toledo, Ohio to Tempe, Arizona. I had never been to Arizona and didn't know one person, and it's been quite an adventure. And I tell this story in rooms all over the state of Arizona, and then I ask, you know, how many people in the room were born somewhere other than Arizona? And it seems like it's 80 or 90% of the hands that go up. The only room I've been burned in is the Cotton Growers Council. Those guys were all born in Arizona. But I close by saying, let's make sure that the bad ideas that are crushing the Midwest and that are pushing people out of other states and killing their economy are not applied in the state of Arizona. And I think a governor can lead that direction. And I wish you the best here in this upcoming race. I've spent my entire adult life in the private sector. I studied finance at Arizona State University, worked my way through college at the local Anheuser-Busch distributorship, and then began my career at Procter & Gamble. And then, along with a few others, we built an ice cream company called Cold Stone Creamery. We started small with a great product, and I can tell you, you get a lot of undeserved popularity when you're selling ice cream. The way you atone for it is by filing papers to run for public office. 50% of it goes away the day you file your party registration. But we grew Cold Stone to 1,440 stores, operating in all 50 states. We sold Cold Stone in 2007. Today it operates in 25 countries around the world. It's an American success story, and I'm proud that it started in Arizona. My dad told me, had we started it in Toledo, we would have never had that kind of success. And there's some truth to that. Those types of things happen when a state embraces free enterprise. And I want you to know that we did Cold Stone without the help of government. We did it without subsidies, and we did it without tax incentives for chocolate-dipped waffle cones. We did it the right way. Big dreams, hard work, and great people. And things like that happen when states focus on what really creates prosperity. Arizona is still very much the land of Barry Goldwater, just as Orange County is still the land of Ronald Reagan. You know, I've learned a number of things as state treasurer. And, the state treasurer in Arizona, these numbers won't impress California because it's so big and the scale is so awesome. But the state treasurer in Arizona manages $12.5 billion. I think it's amazing we let an elected official do this job. The only thing you need to have is to be 25 years old and have lived in the state 5 years. But I think by any measure of good management, Arizona's finances are growing faster and in better condition today than they were 4 years ago. And you might remember 4 years ago where Arizona was. In December of 2009, Arizona was bankrupt, insolvent. We had the largest structural deficit of any state in the nation. We were negative $730 million in our state's operating account, and we had not $1 in the rainy day fund. We were actually on a servicing bank contract from Bank of America to pay teachers, fill potholes, or provide any essential state service. We had the largest structural deficit per capita of any state in the nation, and that's really saying something in this nation. Fast forward 4 years later, we have $2.4 billion cash in our operating account, $454 million in a reserve account earning interest, and our permanent land endowment trust fund is at an all-time record high. If I were a typical politician, I would take all the credit for these great results. Except you can't do it by yourself in government. It very much is a team sport. And I would say it was the wave of 2010 that put in a veto-proof majority in our state house and a veto-proof majority in our state senate and put Jan Brewer into office, a governor that's not scared to use her veto pen or stop stupid spending. And another thing I learned is things go much better when states make their own decisions. We had something on our ballot in 2012. I think it's similar to something you had here in 2012. Here, I think it was called Prop 30. In Arizona, it was called Proposition 204. They made a mistake in Proposition 204. They named the state treasurer in the bill 11 times. So I was able to see what it actually said. And Prop 204 was polling at about 60% in September of 2012. But I felt we had a duty to communicate with the voters as to what was really inside this special interest bill that was funded by special interest and written by special interest. So I learned something there because I stepped forward, raised funds, and asked people to join me. And on Election Day, we won, and Proposition 204 lost in every county in the state, and believe it or not, last year in Arizona, taxes actually went down for a change. I'm sure you've heard much about the problems on our southern border in Arizona. They've been national news now for years. And I think the first job of the federal government is to protect its citizens. And by any measure, Barack Obama has failed the people of Arizona and the people of America. I spoke last year at the Brian Terry dinner. Brian Terry was the border agent that was murdered at the border. The honoree that night was a lady named Sue Krentz. Sue Krentz's husband, Bob, was murdered at his ranch on the southern border. It really changed this issue when you spend time with these families and hear it from their perspective. And what did our federal government do with this porous border? Well, they've put signs in the desert warning us that dangerous people are among us. And if you see one, call 911. It would be funny if it weren't such a shame. And this is an issue not only for the reasons that you often hear and what we're in the news lately around immigration, but first and foremost, it's a national security issue in a post 9/11 America that we have a porous border. And secondly, in Arizona, it is a transnational crime issue. There are drug cartels and human traffickers coming over that border. And then thirdly, it is an immigration issue. But the border issue has changed in Arizona from our southern border to now our eastern border with New Mexico and Texas. I don't know if you've seen recently what's happened, but the inflow of people moving from Central America through Mexico over the Texas border has our federal government now transporting these people from Texas and dropping them off at bus stations in Arizona. And it's quite shocking for a number of reasons. One is just the incompetence of it all. The fact that you would transport people from Texas to Arizona, and these are women and children, and they've been dropped off at Greyhound bus stations in Tucson and Phoenix in the 100+ degree heat. The second part of it is just the inhumanity of it. This is not the type of nation we are. There has been no communication from our federal government to our state officials. And then lastly, you wonder about the legality of it. Hugh mentioned my wife Angela, and I have 3 boys of my own, Jack, who is 17, Joe, who is 15, and Sam, who is 10. Well, if I took Sam down to Tucson and dropped him off at the bus station and left him there, they'd come and find me. But this is what our federal government is doing with women and children. It's wrong, and it's got to stop. And that's why I'm going to go after this campaign in the same spirit that we've learned from the conservative heroes in our past. Barry Goldwater was known for his independent streak, and we're known for our independent streak in Arizona, especially in dealing with the Obama administration. For Arizona, the Obama years have really been nothing but mandates, lawsuits, and lectures. And I don't know about you, but I'm a little bit tired of it. So I'm going to have a very direct message for Barack Obama as Arizona's next governor. Instead of focusing on Arizona's education system, healthcare system, and energy industry, how about focusing on your own spending, your own borrowing, and this nation's borders? This has been a tough campaign season, and we've got a positive message of growing the economy, fixing our education system, and getting Arizona out from underneath the thumb of the federal government. I'm proud to be here in Orange County to talk about this tonight. I'd welcome any support or help that you could provide. I saw a lot of the young people there. We're working hard to communicate and bring people into the party. So anything you can do on social media, it's DougDucey.com, at Doug Ducey on Twitter, and Doug Ducey on Facebook. I'm honored to be speaking before Senator Mike Lee today. I like to say when I'm talking about the federal government, Hugh thanked our veterans, and I say thank you to our veterans as well, because they, along with fighters like Mike Lee, prove that our federal government can do something right. Other than that, these guys can't balance a budget. They can't protect a border. They can't build a website. The answers are at the state level. Support conservative governors. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Doug.